The Philadelphia Eagles might be flying into a storm, and it's not because of one or two bad throws. The idea that there's a quarterback controversy brewing in Philly feels more like forced drama than actual football logic. Let's not forget who we're talking about here, Jalen Hurts. The same quarterback who led this team to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. The same quarterback who carved up a top-tier defense in the biggest game of the season and walked away with the Super Bowl MVP trophy. This is not some rookie trying to prove he belongs. This is a proven winner. Yet here we are, a few games into a new season, and already people are questioning whether he should be benched? That's not just wild, it's disrespectful. Sure, the offense isn't firing on all cylinders. There's no denying that. But blaming Hurts as if he's the root of the problem is lazy analysis. It completely ignores the bigger picture, starting with the front office. Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, the entire management group. This is on them just as much, if not more. When you name an offensive coordinator like Kevin Patullo, someone who's never called plays before, you better make sure your star quarterback is on board. And from the way Jalen answered questions about Patullo right after the Super Bowl, it didn't sound like he was. That "it's out of my jurisdiction" line? That's not confidence. That's code for "I wasn't consulted." And how can you not consult your MVP quarterback when you're handing the keys to the offense to someone new? We all said it last season. The passing game was the weak link. So what does management do? Promote the passing game coordinator to offensive coordinator. It makes no sense. If the passing game was struggling, why would you put the guy in charge of that in control of everything? It's backwards. If anything, Jamal Singleton, who had the run game humming, should have gotten the nod. Instead, they doubled down on a flawed system, and now it's showing. Then there's the roster decisions. They let key players walk out the door. Isaiah Rodgers, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay. Rodgers signed for pennies on the dollar. Slay was a bit pricey, sure, but you had to keep one of them. Instead, you gamble on unproven players like Khalil Ringo and hope it all works out. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Now you've got a CB2 problem, a hole at safety, and a rookie trying to fill CJ's shoes. Reed Blankenship is a solid player, but he needs a strong partner next to him. Without that, his weaknesses get exposed, and the secondary collapses. We've seen it before. When CJ was there, Reed looked like a star. Without him, one of the worst performing safety units in the league. Then you look at the trades. You're bringing in guys like Tank Bigsby and Fred Johnson because suddenly your offensive line is crumbling. Why? Because you didn't prepare. Cam Jurgens was hurt. Dickerson came in banged up, and Lane Johnson is always playing through pain. Depth matters. And to their credit, bringing back Fred Johnson was a smart move. But again, it's a reaction to their own mistake. You shouldn't have let him walk in the first place. And what's going on with the tight ends? You trade away a guy who could block for a wide receiver you're not even using. Meanwhile, Dallas Goedert is out there doing everything himself. Where's the help? Harrison Bryant was out there, top 5 in blocking efficiency, and you pass on him? These aren't coaching errors. These are management blunders stacking up like dominoes. And somehow, it's Hurts who catches the heat. Then we get to the play calling. Kevin Patullo might be a great guy, but he's not built for this role. When defenses adjust, he doesn't. It's the same script we saw with Brian Johnson. No creativity, no plan B. Teams figure out your tendencies, and you just keep doing the same thing hoping it'll work again. That's how you end up going 1-5 down the stretch. That's how you waste talent. Shane Steichen and Kellen Moore? Those guys knew how to adapt. Remember the Super Bowl against the Chiefs? When the run game got shut down, they didn't panic. They pivoted. They used motion, quick passes, misdirection, whatever it took to keep the defense guessing. That's what elite coordinators do. What we've got now is someone who keeps running into a wall and wondering why it hurts. And let's talk about the schemes. We are way too predictable. Same route concepts over and over. No creativity, no deception. If the defense knows what's coming, it doesn't matter how talented your quarterback is. You're setting him up to fail. And Hurts? He's not failing. He's just hitting a ceiling because there's nowhere else to go in this scheme. He's top 10 in yards, top 10 in touchdowns, and has only thrown 1 interception. His QBR is middle of the pack, sure, but when the play design is stale and the offensive line is shaky, what do you expect? This is where people start talking about Tanner McKee, and that's where the conversation goes completely off the rails. Yes, McKee can throw with anticipation. Yes, he can layer passes, but he's not mobile. You put him in this offense, and you lose the threat of the quarterback run. That changes everything. Now defenses don't have to respect the read option. They don't have to spy. They can drop back and focus purely on coverage. And with this play calling, that's a recipe for disaster. You're not fixing the problem. You're just changing the face of it. And let's be real. If you bench Hurts now, you're not just shaking his confidence. You're lighting the locker room on fire. This is a guy who's earned the respect of his teammates. He's a leader. You bench him after 6 games, and not only do you risk alienating him, you destroy McKey's chances too. Because he's not set up to succeed in this current system. So now you've crushed the confidence of both your quarterbacks. And what's your plan then? Start over? Draft another project quarterback and hope he can survive the chaos? People are acting like Hurts missing a throw or two is the end of the world. Patrick Mahomes misses throws. Josh Allen misses throws. The difference is, those guys have coordinators who can scheme up something on the next drive. The Eagles don't. So when Hurts misses, it feels huge, because we don't know when the next opportunity is coming. It's not about talent. It's about structure. It's about support. And right now, Hurts doesn't have that. The routes are stale, the timing is off, and the communication on the sideline tells you everything. Every game, you see Hurts going back and forth with the OC, trying to figure out what the plan is. That's not how a high-level offense should operate. There should be clarity. There should be rhythm. Instead, it feels like everyone's guessing. What's wild is how quickly narratives shift in this league. One year you're the savior, the next you're the scapegoat. And for Jalen Hurts, this swing is not just unfair, it's downright irrational. It's like some fans and analysts forget what the man has already accomplished. You don't stumble your way into 2 Super Bowl appearances. You don't accidentally win MVP in the biggest game on the planet. That takes skill, resilience, leadership, and above all, consistency. And even if the offense isn't humming at the level it should be, the tape doesn't lie. Hurts is still delivering more than most quarterbacks in the league, despite everything working against him right now. And that brings us back to the coaching staff. You can see it week after week. There's no offensive identity. There's no plan that fits the personnel they have. The offensive line, which used to be a strength, is now patchy at best due to injuries and questionable depth. The play calling doesn't reflect that reality. You keep asking guys to make the same pulls, run the same blocking schemes, call the same run concepts even though the pieces aren't there to execute them at a high level. It's football 101. Adjust your scheme to fit the strengths of your roster. But what we're seeing is the exact opposite. It's stubborn, it's repetitive, and it's costing the team. One example, Tyler Steen. Solid pass protector, but not built for run blocking the way this team keeps trying to use him. If you're running behind a guy who can't move defenders off the line or pull effectively in space, you're setting yourself up for a loss before the ball is even snapped. Yet the playbook doesn't change. You're still seeing runs to his side. You're still seeing him being asked to execute assignments that he clearly struggles with. That's not on the player. That's on the coordinator. Know your personnel. Put them in positions to succeed. If you don't do that, no amount of quarterback wizardry is going to save you. And that's where this, let's see what Tanner McKee can do, idea starts falling apart even more. You're not just dropping a new quarterback into the mix. You're putting him into a broken system. A system that lacks tempo. A system where play calls come in late. A system where wide receivers are running identical routes too often. And in that system, McKee won't just struggle, he'll fail. And that failure won't be because he's a bad player. It'll be because he never had a chance. Just like any quarterback wouldn't have a chance in an offense this disjointed. And the moment that happens, you've got 2 problems instead of 1. Because now Hurts is pissed. Rightfully so. You benched the face of the franchise over a temporary slump that wasn't even his fault. You burned the bridge with your locker room leader. And you likely tanked McKee's trade value or development arc because you threw him into a no-win situation. It's short-sighted and emotionally reactive football, the type of mistake that can set a franchise back for years. Now let's talk energy, because anyone watching the games can feel it. Something is just off. You can see it in the body language. You can hear it in the post-game interviews. You can feel it in the stadium. The spark, the edge, that aura of confidence the Eagles used to carry, it's not there right now. And people want to pin that all on Hurts? That's wild. Look closer. This is a team-wide issue. From the sidelines to the front office, the fire just isn't the same. And part of that has to do with leadership. Yes, but it also comes from a lack of belief in the system. Players are not dumb. They know when a plan isn't working. They know when they're being asked to do things that don't play to their strengths. And when that happens over and over again, morale drops. Effort dips. Execution suffers. Now add that to the fact that the receivers are getting frustrated because the route trees are predictable. Defenders are jumping routes because they've seen them 100 times before. Quarterbacks start hesitating because timing is off. The OC is scrambling to come up with answers mid-game. And what do you get? A mess. That's what we're seeing. A mess that's getting blamed on the one guy still doing everything he can to hold it together. You watch Jalen Hurts on the sideline, and he's constantly in conversation with coaches, constantly trying to solve problems, not create them. That's leadership. That's professionalism. That's the guy you want under center when the house is burning down. But because he missed 2 throws in a game, suddenly he's the issue? Suddenly people are ready to trade him out like he's a spare part? That's not just short memory. That's flat-out nonsense. Even the narrative that Hurts can't throw with anticipation is being exaggerated. Yes, McKee might do it differently, but let's not act like Hurts doesn't throw guys open. Let's not act like he hasn't made those timing throws, those tight window darts in clutch situations. He's done it over and over again. But when you're working in a scheme where every route combination is stale and predictable, it limits what you can do. You're throwing into coverage not because you lack vision, but because the defense has already seen the play unfold before. So they're sitting on it. And that creates picks, frustrations, and miscommunications, not just with the quarterback, but across the board. And here's something nobody's talking about. If you want to improve this offense, it doesn't start with switching the quarterback. It starts with speeding up the play calling. Get the calls in faster. Let Hurts operate in tempo, where he thrives. Let the offense get into a rhythm. That's when he's at his best, when he doesn't have to wait until there's 5 seconds left on the play clock. When he can read the defense, adjust protections, and move with pace. That's when you see the Jalen Hurts who torched the best defense in football under the brightest lights. Not when he's being forced to operate in a system that's clearly dragging him down. And let's not forget, he's still producing, still throwing for big yardage, still accounting for touchdowns, still keeping the team in games. You don't just throw that away because the OC is underperforming. You don't throw that away because you're frustrated about a few drives stalling out. That's how losing franchises operate, by chasing change instead of fixing what's broken. And what's broken right now? The scheme, the planning, the preparation, the roster depth, not the quarterback. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. Breaking news is stirring in the NFL world, and it could completely reshape the Philadelphia Eagles season. Sources close to the league have whispered that the NFL is preparing a major disciplinary action that could hit the Eagles hard, leaving fans and analysts alike on edge. While no official statement has yet been released, insiders suggest that the potential punishment might involve key personnel and possibly even the team's draft picks, a move that would send shockwaves through the organization. The Eagles, who have been touted as one of the most promising teams in recent seasons, could find themselves under intense scrutiny if these rumors turn out to be true. Industry insiders hint that the investigation has been quietly ongoing for weeks, though the exact details remain murky. Some speculate it could relate to violations in player conduct or team operations, while others hint at possible infractions connected to league rules on trades or contracts. Whatever the case, the NFL appears ready to act decisively. Philadelphia fans are already buzzing on social media, with debates raging over what this could mean for the team's prospects this year. Could this disrupt their playoff hopes? Would a penalty affect the roster or financial flexibility? Analysts are torn, with some seeing it as a minor blip, while others warn it could alter the entire trajectory of the franchise. What makes the situation even more tantalizing is the timing. The NFL usually keeps a tight lid on such investigations until all facts are verified, which only fuels speculation. The Eagles' locker room has reportedly remained tight-lipped, but insiders suggest the tension is palpable. Every practice, every game, and every move could now be viewed under a microscope, as fans anxiously wait for official word. For now, the league's forthcoming decision remains shrouded in mystery, but one thing is certain. The NFL landscape could look very different depending on the outcome. Philadelphia is no stranger to drama, but this could be a defining moment for the franchise. The question now is not whether the Eagles will face consequences, but how severe they might be, and what ripple effects could hit the team in the weeks and months to come. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.